Good morning. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome back mga kapwa natin OFW, mga kababayan natin from all over the world at sa The Hague. Ngayon, isang napakalaking news, good news para sa mga DDS. General Torre, yun na, sinibak na. Panoorin po natin si ito general din to General's viewpoint. Ito, nabalita lang natin pagkagising natin ng umaga, ito na ang bumungad. Sarap ng gising. Arroganteng PNP pa naman to, PNP chief.
Reaction, opinion itong post ng News 5 30 minutes ago. Para sa mga DDS, good news sa atin ito. Torre relieved as PNP chief. Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin confirmed that PNP Chief Police General Nicolas Torre has been relieved from the post, effective as soon as possible, according to a letter sent to Torre this Monday. So kahapon, ngayon lang na i-publish. So basahin ko yung ito na yung letter. Office of the President, Malacanang, 25 August 2025. So kahapon ito. Police General Nicolas D. Torre, Philippine National Police, Camp Crame, Quezon City. General Torre, you are hereby relieved as Chief PNP effective immediately. So ibig sabihin, effective kahapon for the continuous and efficient delivery of public services of the PNP. You are hereby directed to ensure proper turnover of all matters, documents, and information relative to your office. Thank you. By order of the President, Lucas P. Bersamin, Executive Secretary. So, ito na. Merise, ano pa yun? Ang gaba, dili magsaba, sabi ni BP Sara. Ano kayang dahilan bakit siya ni-relieve? Another next vlog natin yon. Pag ganito kasi, pag maligaya ko or nalulungkot ako, gusto kong kumanta. So ako, maligaya. Ano bang ating magandang ikanta kay General Torre? And now, the end is near, and so you face the final curtain. My friend, I'll state clear, I'll state your case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full, you trouble is in every highway, and more, much more than this, you did it your way. Regrets I had a few, and so a few to mention. You did what you had to do, and saw it through without exception. Hindi ko na lang. And so along the byway, and more, much more than this, you did it your way. Ang sarap kumanta. Ano? Nakailang buwan pa siya? July ba o August siya? 2, 3 buwan pa lang yata. may napanood akong Facebook reel. Grabe, akala ko presidente ang dumating eh. Grabe, una. Nakamotorsiklo nga mga riders na pulis. Gagandang mga motor. Sumunod, police cars. Dami. Mamaya, may black na sakyanan. Laking sakyanan. Lumabas. General Torre. Oh, grabe. In fairness, ang ganda nga ng kanyang tindig. Ang ganda ng lakad niya papunta sa mga tao. Gumagano. Galing. Na ngayon, na-relieve na siya. Anyway, magbasa tayo sa mga comments. Comments. Oh. Wilson Bautista Valdez. Ha ha ha. May aariston na kasi. Arrest warrant is waiting. Ray Garcia, boxing pamor. Chassis Sam, congratulations po, nothing lasts forever. Bali boxing Sam ka naman without opponent.
So ayan po at napakagandang balita sa mga DDS. Isang arugante daw to eh. Sabi ni Senator Jinggoy Estrada. Ngayon lang tayo nagkaroon ng PNP chief na arugante. Kala ko pa naman itatagal. First round pa lang na ano na, sinibak na. Yan ang sinasabi natin. Yung yabang kasi ang inuna. So, dako naman po tayo dito kay ano. Dako naman po tayo dito sa dahig muna kay Tatay Digong kung ano na ang balita. Ito, meron tayong nakitang panayam kay sa kanyang abogado. Panoorin na lang natin kung anong sasabihin. Hindi ko pa kasi napapanood din to kung anong sasabihin niya. Panoorin na lang natin. So, let's go. Attorney Nicholas Kaufman. Pasok.
Attorney Kaufman, good afternoon. How are you today?
Good afternoon.
How is our former President Rodrigo Roa Duterte?
As always, he's in good spirits. Very happy to see his legal team.
Thank you, Attorney. Attorney, after submitting the renewed request for the interim release of the former President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, what is the expected timeline for the pre-trial chamber to issue its decision?
Well, it's customary that the chambers rule on such requests as quickly as possible. So we anticipate within a week or two, we should have a decision.
Based on ICC practice, Attorney, are there specific procedural rules and guides how quickly such requests should be resolved?
Well, they should be resolved. The statutory framework requires that requests for interim release are resolved as soon as possible.
Attorney, regarding your motion to defer adjudication of the jurisdictional challenge, it is correct that the pretrial chamber must first decide on the interim release request before the turning to jurisdiction. Is that what we are aiming for here?
Well, I don't think the sequencing is quite correct there. The chamber can decide on jurisdiction at any stage, even up until the end of the confirmation of charges hearing. We believe that it should be decided earlier, but as you know, we made the request a long time ago, and we're still awaiting a decision on that particular matter. Interim release, however, is a different matter entirely, and the judges normally decide on that type of thing as soon as possible.
So, Attorney, it is possible, just to make it clearer, that on jurisdiction, it is possible that the decision on jurisdiction could only come after the confirmation of charges hearing.
At the end of the confirmation of charges hearing, it's possible. However, I believe that the decision on the jurisdictional challenge will be earlier. Interim release, I believe that should be within a few weeks.
Does that affect the strategy of the defense?
Not really. We hope that the former president will be released. We believe he should be released, and we hope that it will happen.
Attorney, if the court ultimately decides not to proceed to trial, what happens to the unresolved motions, such as those jurisdictional challenge or interim release? Will they simply be moot or academic?
They will be moot and academic, yes, exactly. I mean, if the case doesn't go to trial, it's because there isn't enough evidence to satisfy the substantial grounds to satisfy the court that the former president committed crimes. So there's no case to answer, as it were.
Attorney Kaufman, on a different matter, media reports claim you withdrew the request to disqualify Chief Prosecutor Karim Khan before the appeals chamber. Can you clarify whether this is accurate?
That's totally false. That's based on an incorrect reading that some reporter, I forget which journal it was, had of something that was published on the website. And like you, Alvin, you didn't unfortunately read the fine details. What was published on the ICC website was an earlier motion that we filed in April, where the prosecutor had notified his supposed lack of conflict of interest. We relied on what's called the presumption of prosecutorial regularity. Didn't feel that there was a need to basically contradict what the former prosecutor had said. I say the former prosecutor, the current prosecutor, but he's currently on self-imposed leave. And then, at the end of June, we were suddenly disclosed the motion that he'd filed on behalf of the victims that he had represented. He'd represented more than 100 victims. The number, the nature of the representation were not known to us in advance. That's why we have reintroduced the request for the disqualification of the prosecutor.
Attorney, if the appeals chamber grants your request and Prosecutor Khan is disqualified, what would be the immediate and long-term significance of these developments?
Well, immediate and long-term significance won't be too great because effectively, as I've told you just now, he's on self-imposed leave because of the allegations made against him. However, there is an additional aspect to the request to disqualify Karim Khan. We argue that the very fact of his involvement as a victim's representative and subsequently becoming the prosecutor means that the investigation itself against the former president has been contaminated.
Okay. Attorney, does that also mean that there is a requirement to change prosecutorial leadership or potentially delay the proceedings?
No, because at the current moment in time, the person who's handling the prosecution, technically speaking, is Deputy Prosecutor Niang, and there's an American prosecutor who's handling the case on a daily basis.
Attorney Kaufman, media outlets have been criticized for inaccurate or negligent reporting on these proceedings, particularly on sensitive matters. What is your response to this?
Well, I think it's justified criticism. People jump to conclusions on the basis of what they see on the website. They don't bother reading the fine print, and they see the glaring headlines, think it's newsworthy, and immediately publish without applying the brain too much.
Do you believe that such reporting could prejudice public opinion or even affect the fairness of the proceedings?
Sometimes it's liable to do so, indeed, yeah.
Attorney, just to piggyback on that, given that during the administration of former President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, certain media reports were arguably published with negligence in fact-checking or appeared to have been influenced by external directives, can such circumstances be invoked to challenge the credibility and evidentiary weight of media-based accounts presented before the International Criminal Court?
Well, it's a rather long question, Alvin, but I'll do my best to answer. It's quite well known that at the International Criminal Court, cases start off on the basis of media reports. And in fact, one of the criticisms leveled at the prosecution in the past has been a heavy reliance on open source materials. In the present case, there has been obviously a large amount of media involvement. There's also been, however, a large amount of civil society organizations involved, victims' representations. The prosecution here have gathered substantial evidence, it must be said. So the case against the former president isn't totally relying on media material, I can put it that way.
Attorney, in your recent submission on the organization of the confirmation of charges hearing, you indicated that you will have 30 minutes for your opening statement, 3 to 4 hours to address legal issues, and then 30 minutes for your closing. Could you share how you are preparing for this, especially in terms of structuring legal arguments and emphasizing key defenses?
I'm sorry, I'm not going to litigate the case here in a media interview. However, the prosecution and the victims today have published their anticipated schedule for the confirmation of charges hearing, and they're basically the same. They're both asking for 30 minutes opening and closing, 3 hours of submissions in the middle.
Do you know, Attorney Kaufman, if the confirmation of charges hearing will be streamed online for public and observers in the Philippines or globally?
100% yes, it will be available online, probably with a 30 minutes delay because things can be said that shouldn't be said during a hearing in open session. The prosecution have announced that there will be a few instances where they'll need to go into private session, closed session, in order to protect victims or witnesses' interests, we might need the same as well. But the general rule is you try to minimize as much as possible private or closed sessions so that the public can be exposed to the hearing.
Attorney Kaufman, just to put things in proper perspective and also for the
Magandang araw,
public
mga
to have a
kaibigan.
proper thought on the matter, could you clarify the distinction between the ICC's pre-trial phase and the trial phase?
So pre-trial phase is when you're building up to this big hearing, which is going to take place in September, according to the current schedule, the confirmation of charges hearing. This is when the prosecution get the first opportunity to present their case, and the defense get their first opportunity to challenge the prosecution evidence. Essentially, the prosecution have to convince the judges that there are substantial grounds to believe that the suspect, in this case the former president, committed the crimes which the prosecution alleges he committed. This is a higher standard, a higher evidentiary standard than the reasonable suspicion standard, which is sufficient to get someone arrested. But it's a lower standard than the standard which has to be proved at trial, which is beyond reasonable doubt. So it's a kind of somewhere in between standard. And the prosecution have to satisfy the judges that there are substantial grounds to believe that the former president committed the crimes that he's committed of. Once they pass that hurdle, if they pass that hurdle, then you get to the trial phase. And that's when witnesses are brought to testify and their evidence is tested by way of cross-examination.
But there has been already news circulating that almost 300 witnesses have presented themselves to be witnesses for the case of the former president before the ICC. Does this mean that this is only going to be presented if we proceed to trial phase?
Well, 300 witnesses is double the amount that I'm aware of, so I don't know where these extra 150 have come from. But anyway,
okay.
Be that as it may, the prosecution will announce the witnesses that it intends to rely on. It's not for the defense to decide which witnesses to bring. It's the prosecution who brought this case against the former president. It's the prosecution who have to prove this case against the former president, and they have to do it beyond reasonable doubt,
So
assuming they satisfy the substantial grounds to believe.
Just one more follow-up on that particular question, attorney. What kind of decision does the pre-trial chamber issue at the end of this stage then?
Whether or not certain charges are confirmed and suitable to go forward to trial.
Yes, Banat Bay from
Sorry. Attorney Kaufman, given that
Ayan, natapos na rin yung hindi na natin pinatapos yung yung interview with Attorney Nicholas Kaufman. At nakibalita lang tayo siyempre sa The Hague para alam natin yung mga nangyayari. Ngayon naman, alamin natin dito pa rin sa kay General, alamin natin yung kung bakit nga ba sinibak. Kasi meron siya kagad follow-up na video. So, ito, tingnan natin.
I-shout out ko muna ang dalawa kong kaibigan, mga researchers na palaging nagpapadala sa akin ng mga videos, articles, and posts. Si Yodora and Chris Torres. Okay, pag-usapan natin ngayon ang biglaang pag-relieve kay General Torre. Ano ang dahilan? Okay. Ito, nag-message sa akin yung isa kong masugid na subscriber. Sabi niya, General, ba't na-relieve si General Torre? 2 months pa lang siya sa serbisyo, relieve kaagad. Akala ko ma-reach niya ang 2 years in service. Sir. So, ako, nakita ko na posibleng mangyari ito. Opinion ko lang ito ang isa sa mga dahilan yung nangyari sa hindi niya pagsunod sa kautusan ng National Police Commission. Bilang PNP chief, merong order ng PNP chief, binalasan niya ang mga top PNP officials. Yung si General Nartates, inalis niya bilang number 2 second highest ranking PNP, Lieutenant General Nartati, siya ang Deputy PNP Chief for Administration. Nirelieve niya, inilagay niya bilang Area Police Commander sa Western Mindanao. Tapos si Lieutenant General Banak, ang ipinalit niya bilang number 2 highest ranking PNP. Then may mga iba pang isya. Normal yan, ginagawa ng PNP chief. Halos lahat ng PNP chief, pag upo nila, ganyan ginagawa, binabalasa. Okay. Ngayon, ang National Police Commission, chaired by the Secretary of DILG, mayroong kapangyarihan to review yung mga ganong reassignment o order na ini-issue ng PNP chief. Nakalagay yan sa batas. So, ang National Police Commission nagpalabas ng resolusyon. Pinapabaliwala yung order ni General Torre, yung balasahan niya ng mga police generals. So, ang resolusyon ng National Police Commission, inuutosan si General Torre na ibalik niya si Lieutenant General Nartates as Deputy PNP Chief for Administration. Ibalik niya. Hindi siya sumunod. Instead na sumunod sa resolusyon ng National Police Commission, ang nangyari, ang 18 police regional directors nag-issue ng statement, parang manifesto, na they are one, they are united with their PNP chief, na so nagkaroon na ng conflict of, anong tawag doon? Turf war ang tawag sa Billionaire News Channel na unang nagbalita yan. Nagkaroon na ng pangayan ng authority. So, sino na ang masusunod? Ang National Police Commission o ang PNP Chief? Yan. Kaya ako, bago lumabas tong balita ito, nag-iisip, ano na kayang nangyari, kailang napupursight ko na. Magkakaroon talaga ng banggahan. Sino ang bibigay? Sino ang masusunod? Okay, so, ang decision, presidente. So, ito, analysis ko lang, opinion ko lang ito. Ayaw magpatalo si Secretary. Kasi pag hindi susundin yung NAPOLCOM resolution, ang mapapaya ang NAPOLCOM. Ang mapapaya yung chairman ng NAPOLCOM na si Secretary John Vic Remulla. Kung ako ang secretary ng hindi pwede yun. It's either aalis na lang ako as secretary ng aalisin ako or siya ang alis. Dalawa lang yan. Yan ang tingin ko, analysis ko lang ito Kaya, siguro, again, speculation ko lang ito, kasi hindi man, si Secretary Remulla, ulitin ko, kung ako ang Secretary Remulla, punta na ako sa Presidente. Alter ego ng Presidente ang DILG. Secretary. Magreklamo ako. Sir, ano bang nangyari kay General Torre? Ayaw man niyang sundin yung National Police Commission. What's the use na mayroong National Police Commission? Ang mandate ng National Police Commission is to oversee the operations of the PNP. Kaya nga National Police Commission So reklamo ako. Yun. Most likely nagreklamo si
Remulla.
Yung NAPOLCOM, nagreklamo yung mga commissioner. Kasi si General Torre, kasama rin siya sa commission. Doon sa resolution, siya lang hindi pumirma. Yung, I think, 4 na commissioner, pumirma lahat. Isinantabi. Binaliwala ni General Torre, malaking bagay yun. And then, nag-decide ang presidente, sino ngayon ang pipiliin niya? Si General Torre, na sumunod sa utos niya na nag-ano sa KOJC, dahilan para mag-surrender si Kibuloy, tapos PRRD. In fairness, marami ang naitulong ni General Torre kay PBBM. Kaya lang, sino ngayon ang mas mabigat sa presidente? Sino ang paboran niya? Ang PNP chief o si Secretary Remulla, John B? Kaya ang alam ko, malaki ang utang na loob ni PBBM sa mga Remulla. Kasi nung election 2022, ang Cavite, second vote-rich country in the Philippines, next to Cebu. Ang laki ng lamang ng Unitim. Ayan. Kaya, tingnan nyo, magkapatid na Remulla, 2 sekretary. Ayan. So, yun po ang aking opinion, analysis na hindi yan, that's not absolute truth. Baka mali ako. Baka kung...
So, yun. Naniniwala naman kami sa inyo, General. As a general, bilang isang general na retirado. So, ayun. Nandito na lang po ang ating video at isang napakagandang balita dahil isa sa mga PNP chief na, yun nga, sabi nga ni Senator Jinggoy, ngayon lang tayo nagkaroon ng arroganteng PNP chief. So, ayan na, ang saba dili magkaba. So, abangan na lang natin kung sino yung susunod na PNP chief at naway maging maayos. O baka naman 2 buwan lang ulit, pagka hindi sumunod, sibak ulit. So, ganito na lang po. Maraming salamat. Mahalin natin ang Pilipinas.